Hi guys, welcome back to my class, and today I am going to teach you about the second phylum, that is Coelenterata. So guys, what happened in previous classes, we have studied all about the unicellular animals, that is protozoans, and we have covered a phylum which is multicellular, that is the Porifera or sponges. But today we are going to discuss the second, you can say, multicellular organism or animal in the kingdom Animalia. So guys, Coelenterata is actually what the old name. The new name is Cnidarian. Why? Because it has cnidoplast, or you can see the stinging cell. We will learn about it in detail, and all the structures becomes very important for the examination point of view. So we'll go in detail about the structure and types of cnidoblasts and everything. So guys, what happens when you will see in and around you, you will find a various kind of diversity of animals. And today we are going to learn about the Coelenterata in very detail, and we are going to actually classify the Coelenterata in today's class. It is actually divided into two classes. Okay, the first class will be general characteristics, classification, and the structure of cnidoblast, because this is the you can say distinguishing feature of the organism. So let's go ahead guys. The first important feature. So guys, first important feature is the tissue level of organization. So guys, what happened in sponges, we have seen that the cellular organization was there, in which what happened, there are different cells which were not aggregated into tissue, but they are working their jobs. Okay, so but here what happens, there is a true tissue. So guys, second important thing here is it is diploblastic organism. So if it is diploblastic, that means the germ layers are divided into two layers, that is the ectoderm and the endoderm. Ectoderm and the endoderm. So guys, ectoderm is here the outer layer, and endoderm is here the gastral layer, or you can say it gastroderm. Okay. So guys, now between these there is a non-cellular, or you can say dead matter, actually the dead matter which is also known as mesoglia. Okay, the same like mesenchyme we have studied in sponges, here it is mesoglia. Okay, so guys, in mesoglia it is not there will be no cells in like mesoglia, but there are cells, but there is not appropriate tissue formation in the layer, or you can say there is a kind of diverse or random distribution of the cells in the mesoglia. So the mesoglia is dead matter, it is not counted as the third layer. So there are two layers, diploblastic organism. The third important thing here is it has radial symmetry. In my class where I have discussed the level of organization, I have been in detail about the symmetry. So guys, in a rough idea, radial symmetrical organisms can be cut into two halves from many planes. The main important thing here becomes the organization of cells. So let's discuss about the organization of cells. You can see here that this layer, which is outermost layer, is actually the ectoderm. Okay, and this layer is the gastroderm, that is the endoderm. So guys, now this layer is called the mesoglia. Mesoglia is again the dead matter or non-cellular thing. Okay, and this is the first phylum where there is a true neuron, or you can say nervous system. Very primitive kind of nervous system you are going to see in the mesoglia. So these cells are actually the neurons or nerves, and this structure here, cell, is the sensory cell. So sensory cell and neurons makes the nervous system of the cnidarians. So these sensory cells actually will perceive all the stimulus from the environment, and then they are going to stimulate, or you can say transfer the stimulus to the neurons, which actually helps in the contraction of muscles and everything in the system of the animals. So animal is going to respond with the help of sensory and the neuron. system, nervous system, sensory and the nervous system. So guys, there is a muscular system also here. So if you will study about the cells, the configuration will be same as the sponges we have seen. But what happens here, there is a some kind of marked difference from the sponges which we are going to study now. So guys, when we will talk of cells, there is the first important cell, that is the interstitial cell. Interstitial cells. Now, interstitial cells are actually the totipotent cell. Okay, totipotent cell can give rise to any kind of cell. So these totipotent cells becomes very important when it is going to give rise to the nidoblast, or you can say the nematoblast. Okay, which is the characteristic feature of the organism only found in these organisms. Okay, nematoblast and nidoblasts are actually so it is the second cell, that is the nidoblast. So these are actually stinging cells. Stinging means it can be used for offense and defense from the predators. Okay, so nematocyst or nematoblast actually have the unit, that is the nematocyst. It is actually the apparatus for the offense. We'll look into the structure in very detail. So here there you will find the epitheliomuscular cells. So epitheliomuscular cells actually helps in epitheliomuscular cells will actually help in contraction and relaxation of the ectodermal layer. So there will be the endotheliomuscular layer or endotheliomuscular cells, not layer but the cells, which have actually the pseudopodia and flagellum for capturing the food. And it has the gastrodermal layer has the endothelio-glandular cells. So the fifth important cell here is the endothelio-glandular cells. So these five actually cells are very important. The interstitial cell, which is totipotent, nidoblast is the stinging cell derived from the interstitial cells. Sensory cells, I forgot here, 0, you can write sensory cell, very important. Sensory cells, the nidoblasts, the epithelial cell contraction or ectodermal layer contraction, endothelial layer contraction. Glandular cells actually secretes the mucus to make it separated from the environment, okay, so that it cannot be collapsed. Because what happens when there is a outburst of, you can say, or inburst of the water into the cell, then what happens, there is a osmotic pressure rise, and that will give rise to the bursting or collapsing of the animal. So guys, these were the outline of the cell, outline of the organisms. Now just look into the another features, that is physiological features. So physiological features, may we have came across the neuron, or you can say the nervous system, where this is the first organism where you have seen it through neuron for the sensory perception, okay, along with the sensory cells. So what about the excretion and respiration? So guys, for respiration it is going to use the body surface. Same for excretion. But now there is a vascular system, and it is here also called as the gastrovascular cavity. Same like the spongiocele sponges, gastrovascular cavity or coelenteron. Okay, so there was spongiocele in sponges and coelenteron in coelenterata. So guys, this becomes the gastrovascular cavity, where actually the water comes in and from the animal like kind of thing, so it goes out. So this is the second thing from where the nutrition and circulation occur. So gastrovascular cavity is very much needed for the nutrition and circulation kind of thing. Again, the organism has blind sac plan. So blind sac plan, what is blind sac plan? Please remember. So guys, blind sac plan is actually the plan in which there is a single mouth and for a single hole, you can say, for the excretion, or you can say the engulfing and outgulfing of the waste material or food. So there is a single hole system. So the third important thing here is the excretion is through ammonotary. I have actually gone in detail when I was covering the features of the animals. So for reproduction, same like sponges, it has the germ cells in the layer, in the ectodermal layer, and these germ cells actually are converted into gonads with time when the cnidarians becomes mature. So these becomes the gonads. So these were the 4-5 basic systems which were found in the organism. And now let's discuss about the main important thing, that is the nematocyst. Okay. So guys, please remember that the interstitial cells are totipotent cells and they are found in both the layers. Okay. So this is very important here, that these are found in both the layers. So guys, about nematocyst, nematoblast. Actually, nematoblast is the cell and nematocyst is the stinging apparatus. Okay. So don't be confused. Nematocyst is the. Some students are saying that please write in highlighted form because these are very much blurred. So many times I used to forget, like kind of changing the marker to the bright one. So this is the brightest marker I have. So guys, what happens? Nematocysts are actually the stinging apparatus. Okay. So guys, these stinging apparatus are used for offense and defense in the organism. Offense and defense from the predator. Okay. So let's discuss in detail about the structure. So structure becomes very important because it has a kind of this type of organization. Okay. So guys, this is the actual structure of the nematoblast or cnidoblast. So this is actually this layer from here to here. This is called the nematocyst. You can see two structures, one embedded in another. This is just like the sperm cells. But what is difference? Difference is that it has the nucleus. It is the main body part, or you can say main cell body. And cell body mein there is the embedded nematocyst. So nematocyst is actually the stinging apparatus, as you can see. So what happens when it will be in the like kind of not eversed form, I mean not penetrating phase, non-penetrating phase, then it will be like this. It will be like this. So this is actually the thread. It is called thread actually. Okay. So you can see that the thread is encapsulated in this kind of thing, this kind of bag-like structure, sac-like structure. So actually this all have the different names. First know the name. So for anchoring this, so that it cannot be thrown out of the cell, or you can say the cnidoblast, the nematocyst is attached with the base of the cnidoblast with the lasso. This is a lasso. This is actually the very much kind of you can say flexible string, so that it cannot be thrown out from the cell while eversing. Okay. So guys, this is the open tube here. This is the open tube. You can see open tube. Why? Because so that this sac-like structure contains the hypnotoxin. hypnotoxin is very kind of poisonous. If suppose if you are in sea and some Nigerians encounter you and they actually throw the hypnotoxin to you, or kind of like they inject the hypnotoxin into you, then definitely you are going to die. So this is so much kind of dangerous. So hypnotoxin is very important for the defense. It is actually present in the sac-like structure in the nematocyst. So guys, here it becomes important to note that there is a nidocele. Nidocele is for anchorage. Suppose there is a predator, they will pierce the nidocele into the suppose there is an animal with skin, then the skin they will insert the nidocele and they anchor, and then they will inject the hypnotoxin. So this is for anchoring with the host, or you can say the predator. So guys, this system here is called the operculum. And this shaft-like structure is called the shaft or butt. Okay. So this is quite funny. And these structures are actually called the stylet. Okay. Stylet or Barbie are also found here. And so these becomes actually the apparatus for anchoring and defense from the predator. So this becomes very important. Actually, structure becomes very important. Here you will find the nucleus at the base, and these all will be the nucleus, and because it is a cell body, it is the apparatus. So here will be the very diverse cytoplasms. Diverse, I mean ki all the like kind of cell organelles which are important for the survival will be here. Okay. So main important thing here to remember is that lasso, which is asked many times in the examination, that the nematocyst is anchored with the nidoblast with the help of, they will give the like kind of options like lasso and operculum, butt and stylet. So you have to choose what is actually the answer, or nidocele they will give the answer, give the option. So you have to choose the lasso. So lasso is the string-like structure. Please remember it. So this becomes very important question. Very important. So guys, this was actually about the simple kind of nematocyst. This nematocyst is actually called the penetrant, which is very widely available, or most common you can say. Penetrant kind of, actually when you will go in the types of nematoblast actually, so you will find that there are 4 kinds of nematoblasts existing in the cnidarians. First one is the penetrant, which is most common and largest. Okay, this is the most complex, most widely used in the cnidarians, by the cnidarians actually, and it has all the things say, I mean, butt be, stylet be, spines be, they have nidocele be, they have lasso be. So it is actually the true nidoblast. The second one will be the volvulent. So guys, penetrant are sometimes known as stenotele. So they will ask you the question, which is the largest nidoblast found in the cnidarians. So this will be the answer. They will give you the stenotele or the penetrant kind of nidoblast. So volvulent or desmoneme is the smallest kind of nidoblasts. Okay. So please remember, this desmoneme is the smallest kind of nidoblast, and stenotele is the largest kind of nematoblast found in the Coelenterata. Third one is the stereoline glutens. So guys, glutens are actually glutens, okay, TANTS. So glutens are actually a kind of structure in which they have the capability to adhere. Okay, so stereoline glutens, and the fourth one will be the streptoline glutens. Glutens. So guys, stereoline glutens are sometimes also called as atrichous, isorhizous, ZS, okay, ZAS, and these are called holotrichous isorhizous. Isorhizous se mean glutens. Rhizous means root-like structure which is found in the glutens. So stereoline glutens are sometimes also called as small glutens, and these are actually the large glutens. Okay, glutens. Anything you can like spell, glutens or glutens. Okay. So guys, these four kind of nidoblasts are very important for the examination point of view. Please remember it. The most important is penetrant and volulent, and it becomes important because what happens if they will ask that there is no butt in the nidoblast, then you have to answer stereoline. Stereoline has no butt. No butt say I mean there is no shaft. There is no shaft. Please remember that here there is the anchoring rods which actually hold the nematocyst and the kind of this thread. So when thread will emerge, that will lie on the like anchoring rods. So anchoring rods are present here. So guys, what happens when the glutens will fire? Suppose the glutens are going to fire the same like this, but what happens? They are actually the straight. Suppose this is curved. So when the glutens will fire, they will have the straight piercing, or you can say straight nematocyst emerging out of the glutens. So these have the property that they are piercing very at the 90-degree angle or right angle. So guys, this was all about the nidoblast. You can write like a 5 marks question maybe, and you can answer the optional questions also. So now let's begin with the classification. It was all about the nidoblast and the mechanism. The mechanism actually is very important and very simple also. The mechanism of firing the nidoblast, or you can say the nematocyst, is by the osmotic pressure. Suppose you encountered a nidoblast and you are nidarians and you are going to touch it. Then what happens? The osmotic pressure of the organism increases. While the osmotic pressure of the organism increased, then what happens? Then there will be the aversion of the, you can say, nematocyst out of that. So this is just like the touch stimulus and aversion of the nidoblast, and they will pierce you. And if suppose hypnotoxin is going to pierce in your body, then definitely you are going to die. About classification. So phylum Cnidarian is classified into 3 different classes, and it is based on the polymorphism. So guys, very important here that the organism of the Cnidarians show the polymorphism. Polymorphism polymorphism is what? Polymorphism is the suppose an organism which is found in 2 different forms, 2 or more different forms. So 2 or more different forms of an organism is known as polymorphism. So here polymorphism you will find polyp and medusa form. So guys, what is polyp? What is medusa? Medusa is actually the umbrella-like structure. Just like you have seen a typical fungus. So same typical fungus, but they do not have the food. This is actually the in layman's language I am going to understand it. Okay. So umbrella-like structure, and polyp is actually cylindrical structure. Medusa is sexually advantageous, and polyp is asexually advantageous. So it becomes very important when we are going to study the metagenesis, which is very important for the point of examination and for the point of learning the Cnidarians. Actually, I am confusing Cnidarians and nidoblasts. So guys, let's classify it into 3 classes. First one is the hydrozoa. Okay. Second one will be the scyphozoa, and third one will be the anthozoa. So what is the difference between these? Polymorphism, I mean polyp and medusa form in the same organism. But here what happens in hydrozoa, you will find polyp, only polyp, or polyp and medusa. So polyp or polyp and medusa forms are found in the hydrozoa. In Scyphozoa, the medusa forms becomes very prominent, medusa prominent, and polyp reduced. Okay. The reversal of this will be the Anthozoa, polyp prominent, medusa reduced. Then another difference, suppose sometimes what happens that in subjective exams, they are going to give you to write the difference between the different classes. So this is not only the thing, if you are going, you have the 2 marks question, then if you are going to write this, they are going to definitely give you the one number, because this is the basis of the classification. But the second thing here becomes that it is a freshwater organism or marine. So marine and freshwater, in both the sources you are going to find the hydrozoa, but this is exclusively marine, and this again is exclusively marine. Now the important term, Crespidot. Crespidot. Have you heard about the vellum? Vellum comes from the wheel. Wheel means ghungat in Hindi. Okay. So wheel is what? Wheel is something. Suppose this is the Aurelia. You are going to find a wheel, or you can say in Hindi ghungat. Ghungat is something which is you are like aware of the parda. So this is the kind of parda. Okay. So these are actually wheel which is found, and in medusa, if wheel is found, then will be Crespidot. But here also you are seeing that the medusa is prominent. Here also medusa is here. But the Crespidot, Crespidot. So Crespidot medusa is found in the Scyphozoa. Here no mean, because polyp is prominent, so no need of Crespidot or non-Crespidot. The important thing here becomes that it is solitary or colonial. So what happens? Cnidarians are actually what? Sessile or free living. They can be both. Sessile they are going to use any substrate and they are going to float. Free living they are having their own independent existence. So they can be solitary or colonial, but this can be solitary. Solitary why? Because medusa is here prominent. Medusa is a sexually sexually active form, so they can live their own life because they are sexually active, like us. This can have the polyp prominence, so it can be solitary or colonial existence. Okay. So the next important thing here is, suppose these are the 4 main actually difference between the organism. The organism in the Scyphozoa are sometimes called as jellyfishes, and in the Anthozoa they are called the corals. You have all heard about the coral. I am going to take a lecture of coral reef in the next class. Actually, that will be the advantageous for you, and that will be the add-on or complementary lecture, you can say. If you are going to know more about the corals, then you can learn, or you can skip that video also. Okay. So guys, let's discuss about the organisms which are actually found in the classes. This becomes very important because examples are very important if you are going to study about invertebrate. Why? Because sometimes simple questions are asked from the examples. They will ask that what is Portuguese man of war? They will ask, what is Portuguese man of war? So if you don't know the Portuguese man of war, then definitely you are not going to answer. So it becomes very important. So first example will be Hydra. You all know Hydra is most commonly known cnidarians which are found in the freshwater. So this is called the freshwater polyp. Okay. So guys, please remember the pet name and nickname both, because both are important. Second is the obelia. Obelia is very important when you are going to study about the metagenesis. Metagenesis I will cover in the next lecture. Please stay tuned. Okay, obelia is known as sea fur. Obelia is known as sea fur. Then the third one will be the Physalia. Physalia is called the Portuguese man of war. Portuguese man of war. And the fourth, actually remember these four only. There are many organisms. There are 9,000 species of cnidarians. 9,000 species of cnidarians. But the only I am writing those species which are very, very important for the examination point of view, or they are commonly found in the sources. Okay. So guys, second is the millipede. Millipora. Please guys remember that millipora and millipoda are different things. Millipoda are actually millipora. It is millipora. P-O-R-A. Millipora, not the millipoda. Millipoda, just remember that the insecta wala class. That phylum Arthropoda. So millipora. Millipora is actually the fire coral. This is the only coral found in the cnidarians which are not going to form the coral reef. So this is very important when you are asked about the coral reef. So the millipora or fire coral are not going to form the coral reef. The Scyphozoa or jellyfishes में most common example is the Aurelia. Aurelia jellyfish. Okay. And the second one is the Rhizostoma. Rhizostoma. T-O-M-A, stoma. This is actually also called the jellyfish. So this is called the phylum of the class of the jellyfishes. Okay. The third important thing is Anthozoa. Anthozoa can be also exclusively marine, and the most important examples are, they are actually going to form the coral reefs. So please remember the Corallina or red coral, very important, very, very important actually, and Heliopora, blue coral. So guys, these are very important because they are going to form the coral reefs in the seas. The third important here is the Gorgonia. All you know that Gorgonia is sea fan. Pennatula. Pennatula. P-E-N-N-A-T-U-L-A. Pennatula, sea pan. Pen. This pen. This I am writing. Okay. Gorgonia, Pennatula, Tubipora, organ pipe coral, Meandrina, as you can spell, Meandrina, that is the brain coral. So these are very important because they are asked in the examinations. So please remember these names. These 6 names are very important. These 4 names are very important, and these 2 are very important. Okay. So guys, please enjoy the video and enjoy studying the name, because these names are very funny and very kind of important for the examination point of view. So please remember these names. So guys, please follow the lectures. No need to go into book. The diagrams I am actually here drawing is very kind of ridiculous. So what happens? Please draw it in a simple way. After, you can use mobile phone and just search the organism, or you can the structure like nematoblast. I have drawn very roughly. You can make help of the Google images. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.